went to Penn Yan to see Don Sottile, the sculptor of our Daniel Penfield statue, and see how the statue's come along. We understand the clay sculpture is completed, and we're coming to see it before it goes to the foundry.
Registered evenly with the out, there's these steel torque pins that are put in. And so when Daniel's cast, when it comes out of the mold, you'll have these bubbles and flashings and pearls.
The only reason not to touch something here is you'll get dusty or dirty. When you cast, and I think this was one that I didn't even sandblast, I used the pressure washer, but you can see the surface is there, there are fingerprints, but there does have to be quite a bit of hand chasing here that goes on, and it goes in the hole in the head. That's probably, you wonder, why would that be, you know?
Ponytail.
Yeah, ponytail or a bank. You know. No, actually, this piece was cast upside down, and there was a main sprue that went down through into the head, and the pouring cup is here, and vents come back, and that was a way of channeling the metal, the plumbing system, or getting the metal to the bottom of the mold first, and then after it's cast, I can, of course you have a core in there, that has to come out, I can go in and I can, with the arc welder, I can burn that sprue off, get the bronze out, and then I just cast the plug, and that gets welded back in. Once the plaster mold, you take the clay out, you wax it, and then the whole thing has to be stripped, you know, and you create a kind of a grid through the piece, and I would do the whole piece. I'm just laying this in quickly. And you would hit the high spots along. So there's a fair amount, it goes quickly, but there's a fair amount of work that has to happen there. Here's the wax right here. It comes in big blocks, and I cut it and break it down. And then I pick up a wax melter. I turned this on earlier to show you, but it's just molten wax. You could begin to build that up, and with a little brushing, and as the wax cools, you can develop the exact thickness that you want the metal to be, because obviously, you know, when you're going to pour it, if it's real thin, that's not good. If it's too thick, that's not good. So you try to allow for a nice even thickness overall.
Plumbing, what he calls plumbing, or gating. When you, after the waxes, you have to have the plumbing basically to get the bronze into this form.
Yeah, this is a student.
It shows you how what's added to the piece in wax also, so that when it's invested and wax is burned out, those channels exist
Yes.
as tubes, hollow tubes. And the bronze is poured into the cone in the center. And then as it flows back up through, it can backfeed into the cone so air can get out. And then I should be letting him do this. He's the expert. Anyway, and then that cup is solid bronze, liquid bronze, so as the bronze in the piece shrinks, it is backfilled as the molten bronze that's still in there can feed the shrinkage.
I like to
as well.
tell if you remember physics class and you have the metal ball and the metal ring, and then one passes through, then you hit the ball or the ring, whichever, in the flame, and the metal expands, and one won't go through the other. And when you're melting something like bronze, taking it up to a temperature of 2,000 degrees, it's liquid, it's expanded to the max at that point. You pour it into a mold, it flows in, it cools, it chills, goes back into a solid state, it shrinks right there very rapidly. And so you have to compensate for that with a gating system that, and like Don was saying, with this large pouring cup, that's a reservoir of hot metal. So as the outer shell, which is thin, it goes there, it's thinner, it's going to cool quickly, and it'll draw through these gates the hot metal, and that way, I like to say the old M&M's ad, you want the M&M's to melt in your mouth, not in your hands. Well, you want the metal to shrink in the gating and not in the piece. And people sometimes don't believe that, and they'll put a smaller pouring cup on, and then they'll get shrinkage in the piece. So it just makes a huge difference. So this is actually the foundry, and we poured bronze on the professor on Saturday. Actually, it's upside down. In the early days,
disappointed.
I used to, you'd pour the pieces and you'd want to open them right away. But this is just an expanded metal net. It's a wire mesh that's used in the building trades for like stucco. But
You're gonna be cast?
oh, she meows a lot. Yeah, it's just the cost of doing business, Okay, there's the professor.
Wow.
So that's what it looks like when you break it away, and then you sandblast a lot of it.
Yes, a lot of this comes off. Let's see. Oh, that's the part of his hat that's cut out. I gated it to the same piece. And I don't know whether I can. Okay, there's the beard. His nose is coming out. Well, yeah, it's like I say, it doesn't here. This was poured level full, and it shrunk. And then we back poured after we poured other pieces. We came back in that same sequence and just topped it off to give it more hot metal, and it still shrunk down in there. I'm sure the piece is fine. It's just that the shrinkage didn't go in the cup rather than in the piece. So yeah,
This is what the bronze looks like when it's cleaned up before it gets a patina.
That's
the award. This is very bright metal.
Patina is a chemical reaction with the surface and not a paint. And so if there's any oil, which you inevitably find after using tools and whatever, you just spritz on the patina and it takes, and the color starts to and then there's this one spot that's still bright. How come? Then you got to scrub that to get it to take.
You wear your gloves?
Yeah, and wear gloves and yeah.